The answer was simple but brilliant. Human forces had studied how the hegemony's automated defenses worked, finding gaps in their targeting algorithms that no one had ever considered. While the massive guns tracked large threats, smaller ships slipped through their firing solutions. Park's strategy unfolded like a masterpiece of warfare. Each phase of the attack built upon the previous one, creating cascading failures in the hegemony's defenses. When they reinforced one sector, it left others vulnerable. When they adapted to one tactic, 3 more hit them from unexpected directions. Your arrogance was your weakness, Park transmitted to Rin as the defensive network began to crumble. You thought superior technology made you invincible, but technology is just a tool. It's how you use it that matters. The final push to the surface combined every lesson humanity had taught the galaxy about warfare. Special Forces teams disabled planetary shields using infiltration tactics. Combined arms attacks overwhelmed military bases with coordinated strikes from space, air, and ground forces. The hegemony's perfectly ordered military fell apart against enemies who refused to fight according to their rules. Supreme Commander Rin watched through his palace windows as human dropships landed in the capital city. His elite guards, equipped with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, found themselves outmaneuvered by Earth soldiers using tactics perfected through centuries of urban warfare. When Park personally led the assault on the palace, Rin finally understood. These humans hadn't won through superior firepower or technology. They had won because they saw possibilities where others saw limitations. They turned weaknesses into strengths, used their enemy's power against them. The war ended not with a grand space battle, but with Rin's quiet surrender in his own throne room. As he was led away, the supreme commander of the most powerful empire the galaxy had ever known finally asked the question that had haunted him. How did primitives defeat us so completely? In the aftermath, Ambassador Hannah stood before the newly formed Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of species, both former hegemony subjects and alliance members, listened as she explained what humanity had taught them all. "We didn't win because we were stronger or more advanced," she declared. "We won because we never stopped learning, never stopped adapting. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't our weapons, it was our ability to think differently, to see solutions where others saw only obstacles." As the galaxy rebuilt, humanity's reputation transformed. Species that had once dismissed them as primitives now sought their guidance. Earth's military academies began teaching officers from across the stars, sharing not just tactics, but ways of thinking that had never occurred to them. The age of rigid military doctrine was over. The galaxy had learned that true advancement wasn't measured in technology alone, but in the creativity and adaptability to use what you had in ways no one expected. Humanity's victory had ushered in a new era of innovation and cooperation. General Park, standing at his office window overlooking the new Galactic Defense Academy, smiled as he watched officers from 100 worlds training together. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as teachers and liberators. The primitives who had been caged and contained had become the architects of a new galactic order, and the stars themselves seemed brighter for it. The answer was simple but brilliant. Human forces had studied how the hegemony's automated defenses worked, finding gaps in their targeting algorithms that no one had ever considered. While the massive guns tracked large threats, smaller ships slipped through their firing solutions. Park's strategy unfolded like a masterpiece of warfare. Each phase of the attack built upon the previous one, creating cascading failures in the hegemony's defenses. When they reinforced one sector, it left others vulnerable. When they adapted to one tactic, 3 more hit them from unexpected directions. Your arrogance was your weakness, Park transmitted to Rin as the defensive network began to crumble. You thought superior technology made you invincible, but technology is just a tool. It's how you use it that matters. The final push to the surface combined every lesson humanity had taught the galaxy about warfare. Special Forces teams disabled planetary shields using infiltration tactics. Combined arms attacks overwhelmed military bases with coordinated strikes from space, air, and ground forces. The hegemony's perfectly ordered military fell apart against enemies who refused to fight according to their rules. Supreme Commander Rin watched through his palace windows as human dropships landed in the capital city. His elite guards, equipped with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy, found themselves outmaneuvered by Earth soldiers using tactics perfected through centuries of urban warfare. When Park personally led the assault on the palace, Ren finally understood. These humans hadn't won through superior firepower or technology. They had won because they saw possibilities where others saw limitations. They turned weaknesses into strengths, used their enemy's power against them. The war ended not with a grand space battle, but with Rin's quiet surrender in his own throne room. As he was led away, the supreme commander of the most powerful empire the galaxy had ever known finally asked the question that had haunted him: how did primitives defeat us so completely? In the aftermath, Ambassador Hannah stood before the newly formed Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of species, both former hegemony subjects and alliance members, listened as she explained what humanity had taught them all. "We didn't win because we were stronger or more advanced," she declared. "We won because we never stopped learning, never stopped adapting. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't our weapons. It was our ability to think differently, to see solutions where others saw only obstacles." As the galaxy rebuilt, humanity's reputation transformed. Species that had once dismissed them as primitives now sought their guidance. Earth's military academies began teaching officers from across the stars, sharing not just tactics, but ways of thinking that had never occurred to them. The age of rigid military doctrine was over. The galaxy had learned that true advancement wasn't measured in technology alone, but in the creativity and adaptability to use what you had in ways no one expected. Humanity's victory had ushered in a new era of innovation and cooperation. General Park, standing at his office window overlooking the new Galactic Defense Academy, smiled as he watched officers from 100 worlds training together. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity had found its place among the stars not as conquerors, but as teachers and liberators. The primitives who had been caged and contained had become the architects of a new galactic order, and the stars themselves seemed brighter for it. Lyra motioned to the center of the temple, where a glowing orb hovered above a stone pedestal. The orb pulsed with energy, casting an eerie light that seemed to flicker with life. It was mesmerizing. "The orb represents the two paths before you, Alex," Lyra explained. "One path will lead you to use your power for the benefit of others. You will become a protector, a guardian of life, helping those in need and bringing balance to the universe. The other path will allow you to tap into the full extent of your power, but it comes with a price. You will have the ability to reshape reality itself, but at the cost of your humanity. It is a path of great power, but also great temptation." Alex stood frozen, his mind racing. Two paths, two choices. Both paths seemed impossible in their own way. On one hand, he could use his power to help others, to protect the universe and those who lived in it. It seemed like the right thing to do. But on the other hand, the idea of wielding such immense power, the power to reshape reality itself, was intoxicating. "How do I know which path is the right one?" Alex asked, his voice filled with uncertainty. "What if I make the wrong choice?" Lyra's gaze softened, and she stepped closer to him. "That is the challenge, Alex. The right path is not always the easiest one, and there are no guarantees. You will have to decide for yourself. You must listen to your heart and trust in the bond you share with the universe. The energy that flows through you is not just power. It is a reflection of your choices, your intentions. The path you choose will shape the future, not just for you, but for everyone." Alex's mind was spinning. He had never imagined that his journey would come to this point. He had been so focused on learning to control the energy, on mastering the bond, that he hadn't considered the consequences of his choices. Now, the weight of that responsibility hit him hard. "How do I know I'm ready for this?" Alex whispered, more to himself than to Lyra. I'm just one person. How can I possibly make a decision that will affect the entire universe? Lyra's presence was warm and reassuring. It is not about being ready, Alex. It is about being true to yourself. The universe does not ask for perfection. It only asks for honesty, for the courage to make the right choice when it matters most. Trust yourself and trust in the bond we share. You are not alone in this. Alex stared at the glowing orb in the center of the temple. The choices before him were vast, each one carrying its own weight. He could feel the power within him, the power that had grown stronger with every passing day. He could feel it thrumming in his veins, urging him to choose. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that this wasn't just about power. It was about purpose. It was about what kind of person he wanted to be in this strange new world. He closed his eyes, focusing on the energy flowing through him. He could feel the pull of both paths, each one calling to him. One path was filled with the promise of balance and peace, the other with the temptation of boundless power. Both paths seemed like they could lead to greatness, but they also carried risks. He knew that power could corrupt, that the desire for control could lead him down a dangerous road. After a long moment, Alex opened his eyes. He knew what he had to do. I choose the path of balance, Alex said, his voice steady. I choose to use my power to protect and guide. I want to help others, not control them. I want to make the universe a better place, not bend it to my will. Lyra's expression softened with approval. You have made the right choice, Alex. The path of balance is not an easy one, but it is the most rewarding. You will face challenges, and there will be times when you will doubt yourself. But if you remain true to your heart, you will never falter. Alex nodded, feeling a deep sense of relief. He knew that his decision wasn't the easiest one, but it was the right one. And as he stood there in the temple, he realized that the real journey was just beginning. The energy within him surged once more, but this time it felt different. It felt like it was aligned with his purpose, with his choice. The bond he shared with Lyra was stronger than ever, and for the first time, Alex felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. He had made his choice, and now it was time to live by it. When he arrived at the mountain's edge, Lyra was already waiting for him. She stood tall, her silver eyes glowing softly as she looked at him with a mixture of pride and expectation. You're here, Lyra said, her voice steady and calm. This is where the test will take place. It is a place where the energy of the planet is concentrated. It is the perfect location to see how well you can control the bond. Alex looked around, noticing the strange rocks and crystals scattered across the landscape. The air was thick with energy, and he could feel it pulsing through the ground beneath his feet. The mountains stretched high into the sky, their peaks covered in snow that seemed to shimmer in the light. Everything here felt alive, connected. What do I need to do? Alex asked again, his nerves starting to get the best of him. He was trying to stay calm, but the unknown was always a little intimidating. Lyra's expression softened. The test will begin when you're ready, Alex. You must use the energy to move the stones around you. Lift them, shape them, bend them, but you must do it with control. You will need to listen to the energy, not just command it. If you act with fear, the energy will react with chaos. If you act with focus, it will respond in harmony. Alex nodded slowly. It sounded easy enough, but he knew it wouldn't be. This wasn't just about raw strength. It was about understanding the flow of energy, aligning himself with it. He could feel the power of the bond surging within him, but he also knew that without control, that power could turn against him. Lyra stepped back, giving him space. I will watch, she said. This is your test. Show me that you are ready. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the energy around him. The planet, the wind, the stars, they were all connected, and now he had to tap into that connection. He reached out with his mind, extending his senses, feeling the subtle hum of the stones around him. Slowly, he focused on one of the larger rocks near him. It was jagged and uneven, its surface covered in alien symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. He closed his eyes, concentrating. He could feel the stone, its energy, like a pulse beneath his fingertips. He didn't just want to lift it. He didn't want to force it. He wanted to feel it, to understand it, to connect with it. Slowly, he extended his hand toward the stone. His fingers tingled as he made contact, and he felt the energy of the planet flow through him, into the rock. The stone seemed to respond, shifting ever so slightly. It was as if it was alive, as if it was communicating with him. He could feel its resistance, its weight, and he could feel the way it wanted to move. With a deep breath, Alex focused, allowing the energy to flow through him like a current. The rock began to lift slowly, hovering just inches above the ground. It wasn't much, but it was something. The energy wasn't chaotic, as it had been in the past. It was calm, steady, focused. But just as he thought he had succeeded, a wave of doubt washed over him. He could feel the stone trembling, as if it were about to fall. His focus wavered, and the rock dropped with a loud crash. Alex winced. He had failed. He had let his doubts take over, and the energy had responded in kind. He glanced at Lyra, who stood quietly, watching him intently. She said nothing at first, but her gaze held a kind of understanding. "Try again," she said simply. Alex nodded, feeling the surge of determination. This time, he was going to do it right. He closed his eyes again, focusing on his breath, on the connection. He reached out to the stone, feeling its energy. This time, he wasn't just commanding the stone to move. He was connecting with it, feeling its pulse, its rhythm. He allowed himself to become part of the stone, part of the flow of energy that ran through it. Slowly, the stone began to rise again, higher this time. It was still heavy, still resistant, but Alex was more focused now. He could feel the balance between the stone and himself. The energy wasn't rushing through him. It was flowing steadily, like a river finding its course. The stone hovered, still and calm, before gently floating back down to the ground. Alex exhaled deeply, a sense of relief washing over him. He had done it. He had controlled the energy, connected with the stone, and moved it without force, without chaos. Lyra stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing with approval. "You have passed the first part of the test, Alex. You have shown that you understand the bond, the energy, and the need for control." Alex smiled, though he was still a little shaky. It wasn't easy, he admitted, his voice breathless from the effort. But there was still so much to learn. The bond was growing stronger, and with it, the power that flowed through him. Alex knew that he couldn't take this lightly. He had to be careful, to learn as much as he could, and to control the energy before it controlled him. One evening, as the sky above them shimmered with the glow of distant stars, Alex turned to Lyra, a question lingering on his mind. "Lyra," he said quietly, "what happens when I fully understand the bond? What happens when I can control all of this energy?" Lyra's presence was warm, reassuring. "When you understand the bond fully, Alex, you will be able to shape the energy to your will. You will be able to connect with the cosmos on a deeper level. You will have the power to change the world around you, to bend reality itself." Alex's eyes widened. Change reality? How? Lyra's voice was filled with quiet wisdom. "That is the true potential of the bond. But it is a power that comes with great responsibility. You must learn to use it wisely, for if you misuse it, the consequences could be catastrophic." Alex nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. He was just beginning to understand the vastness of the power he now possessed. The bond he shared with Lyra was more than just a gift. It was a responsibility, a calling, and he was ready to learn what that meant. But with each new lesson, Alex knew that the road ahead would not be easy. The bond between them was growing stronger, and with it came greater challenges. The real journey had only just begun. Days turned into weeks, and Alex had become more accustomed to the strange and powerful bond that linked him to Lyra. The connection between them was deeper than he had ever imagined, growing stronger with each passing day. But with this growing strength came new challenges, challenges that Alex was still trying to understand. He had been practicing using the energy within him, but there were still moments when it felt like it was too much to control. There were times when the power surged unexpectedly, overwhelming him. But with Lyra's guidance, he had learned how to regain control, how to focus his mind and direct the energy more carefully. The bond, however, was not just about learning to control the energy. It was about understanding the nature of it, understanding the universe itself. Lyra had explained to him that the power he now had access to was not a simple tool to be used at will. It was a connection to the very fabric of existence, and understanding it was not something that could happen overnight. Alex had to learn how to listen to the universe, to feel its rhythm, to sense its flow. It wasn't just about being able to manipulate energy. It was about aligning himself with the cosmic forces that governed everything around him. One afternoon, as Alex sat by the edge of a calm, flowing river on the alien planet, Lyra's voice echoed in his mind, sharp and clear. "Alex," she said, her tone carrying a sense of urgency, "today is the day of your first test." The words struck Alex like a bolt of lightning. A test. He wasn't entirely sure he was ready for anything like that. He had been learning at a steady pace, but a test. That sounded much more serious. Lyra had been patient with him so far, always guiding him, helping him grow, but now it seemed like the time had come for him to prove that he had mastered the connection. Alex took a deep breath, feeling the familiar hum of energy running through him. He could sense the flow of the planet beneath his feet, the currents of air swirling around him, the distant pull of the stars. But that didn't make him feel ready. He had so much more to learn. "Test?" Alex asked, a hint of nervousness creeping into his voice. "What kind of test?" "You will understand soon," Lyra replied. "This test is to see how well you can control the bond and the energy within you. It is not a test of strength, but of understanding. You must prove that you can control the flow, listen to it, and use it for the right purpose." "Purpose?" Alex repeated, frowning. "What do you mean? What do I need to do?" "You will soon find out," Lyra answered, her voice calm but filled with a sense of quiet authority. "Meet me at the mountain's edge. There, the test will begin." Alex stood up, his heart racing. The idea of a test made everything feel more real. He had been living in the moment, learning and exploring, but now there was a clear challenge in front of him. He had no idea what to expect, but he knew one thing for sure: he couldn't back out now. He had come this far, and now he had to face whatever ahead. The journey to the mountain's edge was more difficult than Alex had expected. The terrain was rocky, the air thin, and the energy in the environment felt different. He could sense the subtle hum of the planet, but there was something else here, something unfamiliar. It was like the very air was charged with energy, buzzing in a way that made Alex's skin tingle. "I don't know if I'm ready for this," Alex admitted, the weight of the responsibility pressing down on him. "It's just so much. I feel like I'm carrying the weight of the universe on my shoulders." Lyra's presence shifted, and Alex could feel a soft smile on her face, even though he couldn't see it. "You are not alone in this, Alex. We share this bond. Together, we are stronger than you can imagine. And in time, you will learn to control the energy that flows through you. It will not overwhelm you. You will be its master." Alex nodded, though he wasn't entirely convinced. The power he had felt earlier was still fresh in his mind. It had been so intense, so pure, and so unfamiliar. How could he possibly learn to control something that vast? But Lyra's voice, her presence, was calming. There was a quiet certainty in her words, and for the first time since the crash, Alex felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, he wasn't as alone as he had thought. "Why did you choose me?" Alex asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm just a human. There are so many others out there. Why me? Lyra's response came slowly, almost as if she was searching for the right words. The Zixel have watched your kind for a long time, Alex. We have seen the potential within humans. You are resourceful, adaptable, and full of untapped power. But more than that, you have something the others do not. You have a fire inside you, a drive to survive, to learn, to grow. It is something I see in you, and it is something that will help you unlock your true potential. Alex was quiet for a moment, taking in her words. He had always believed that humanity was capable of greatness, but hearing it from someone like Lyra made it feel real. She wasn't just talking about survival. She was talking about something much deeper, something that connected all of humanity. And now he was part of that something greater. What happens next? Alex asked, still uncertain of what the future held. I mean, I've got this power now. What do I do with it? Lyra's presence seemed to grow stronger as she spoke, her voice filled with quiet authority. First, you must learn to understand the bond we share. It is a connection between us, but it is also a connection to the universe itself. You will learn to feel the energy around you, to sense the flow of the cosmos. Once you understand this, you will be able to control the energy within you. Alex took a deep breath, feeling both excitement and fear wash over him. This was the beginning of something much bigger than himself, something that could change everything he thought he knew about the universe. He could feel the weight of the responsibility pressing down on him, but he also felt a sense of purpose, a sense that this was where he was meant to be. And how do I learn to control it? He asked. How do I stop it from taking over me? Lyra's presence seemed to pulse with a quiet strength. Patience, Alex. You must trust in the bond we share. It will take time, but it will also take practice. The more you focus on the energy, the more you will understand how to use it. It will not control you, as long as you remain in control of yourself. You are its master. Alex nodded slowly, still unsure of how it would all work, but willing to try. He couldn't afford to be afraid anymore. He had made his choice, and now he had to face whatever came next. As Lyra continued to guide him, Alex began to practice. He would close his eyes and focus, feeling the energy around him. At first, it was difficult. He could sense the vibrations of the planet, the wind, the trees, but it felt distant, like something just beyond his reach. But with time, he began to feel the energy grow stronger. He could feel it in his body, in his chest, like a heartbeat, pulsing with power. Slowly, he learned to control it, to direct the flow of energy. He could feel it moving through him, flowing like a river, and with practice, he could control where it went, what it did. It wasn't perfect, not yet, but he was getting better. He could feel the energy of the planet beneath him, the vibrations of the air, and the pulse of the stars far away. Everything was connected, and now he was learning how to be a part of that connection. Days passed, and Alex grew more accustomed to the bond. He learned to control the energy more easily, though there were times when it still overwhelmed him. But with each passing moment, he became more in tune with the universe around him. It was as if he could hear the stars, feel the planets move, and sense the life that existed in every corner of the galaxy. He could feel Lyra's presence constantly, like a whisper in his mind, guiding him, teaching him. Sometimes it was comforting. Other times it was a reminder that he was not alone, that he was part of something much greater than himself. And in those moments, Alex felt a deep sense of peace. Lieutenant Alex Carter sat in the cockpit of his starship, staring out at the endless stretch of dark space. His mission had started like any other, a simple exploration of uncharted space. But somewhere along the way, things had gone terribly wrong. A sudden energy wave, unlike anything recorded in their galaxy, hit the ship. The force was so powerful it disabled the engines, and Alex's starship was thrown into the unknown. After hours of trying to restore control, he had no choice but to make an emergency landing on a nearby planet. The planet was nothing like Earth. The atmosphere was thick and hazy, and the sky was painted in an unnatural shade of violet. The surface seemed almost alive, with strange, glowing plants that pulsed in rhythm with the distant thunder. Alex stepped out of his ship, taking in the eerie surroundings. The wreckage of his ship lay scattered behind him, and his communication equipment was down. He was completely stranded, with no way of contacting Earth or his crew. "Great," Alex muttered to himself, his boots crunching against the strange ground beneath him. He didn't know if this was an uninhabited world or if someone, was watching him. He hoped it was the first option. The air felt heavy, almost like it was pressing in on him. He checked his equipment again, but the readings were all off. Nothing was working. He was on his own. He had to find shelter, or at least some way to survive until help arrived. But the more he walked, the more unsettling the planet became. He kept his hand on the sidearm he carried, just in case. But then, out of nowhere, a low hum filled the air. It was soft at first, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. But then it grew louder, sharper. Alex stopped in his tracks, heart pounding. He wasn't alone. A figure emerged from the dense fog, moving with an elegance that seemed unnatural. At first, Alex thought it was a mirage, his mind playing tricks on him due to the strange atmosphere. But the figure kept coming closer, and Alex could see it clearly now. She was tall, much taller than any human he had ever met, with a slender, graceful frame that almost seemed to glow in the dim light of the planet. Her skin was a pale blue, almost translucent, and her eyes, those eyes, were silver, sparkling like the stars themselves. The figure came to a halt a few feet away from him, her piercing gaze locking onto Alex. She didn't speak, but there was something in her eyes, a knowledge, a power that made Alex feel both small and incredibly aware of her presence. It was as if she could see right through him. The silence between them stretched on, thick and uncomfortable. Alex was the first to break it, his voice low but firm. "Who are you?" The woman tilted her head slightly, as if considering the question. Then she spoke, and her voice was like nothing Alex had ever heard before. It was melodic, flowing, and soft, but there was strength in it, too. "You are human," she said, her words carrying an unspoken weight. "You do not belong here." Alex's heart skipped a beat. She had spoken in English, but it wasn't possible. How could she understand him? How could she even speak his language? He raised an eyebrow, confused but cautious. "What do you mean I don't belong here?" The woman, no, this being, smiled gently, and her silver eyes sparkled. "This is not your world. This planet is not for you. But perhaps I can help you." Alex stood frozen, unsure of what to say. "Help me? I'm just trying to survive, lady. My ship crashed, and now I'm stuck here. I need to get back to my people." The woman stepped forward, her movements graceful and fluid like a creature of the stars. She wasn't walking. She was gliding across the ground, her feet barely touching the surface. Alex instinctively took a step back, unsure if she was a threat or not. "I am Lyra," she said, her voice as soft as the wind, but filled with authority. "Princess of the Zixel, and I have been watching you, human, watching me." Alex repeated, his suspicion rising. "What do you want with me?" Lyra's gaze softened as she looked at him, almost as if she could sense his unease. "I want to help you. Your people are small and fragile. I have seen your kind before, struggling to survive in a universe that is far older and more dangerous than you know." Alex frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You humans think you control your destiny," Lyra said, almost in a whisper. "But you are not the masters of the universe. The galaxy is vast, and there are forces beyond your comprehension." Alex didn't know what to say to that. He had always believed that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to adapt, to survive. But Lyra spoke with such certainty, with such deep knowledge, that it made him question everything he thought he knew about the universe.